Hi everybody, it's Miss Mary again from MidPointe with another fun MidPointe Maker. We're going to talk about a different artist today, but first I want to say that, I do not have any kind of formal art training or education, but I really like to make stuff. It's fun to try something new and discover what I can do. Sometimes the things I make look really cool, and sometimes they don't, but I always learn something. Do you like making things? Learning things? Oh, I hope so. So we're going to look at a famous work of art today and see if we can make something ourselves using that same technique. Do you remember what the word technique means? It's a big word that means way. The way an artist makes their art is called their technique. So if you like to eat spaghetti by twirling it around your fork, then twirling is your spaghetti technique. Make sense? Let's get started. So today we're looking at a famous sculpture by an artist named Dale Chihuly. Isn't this cool looking? What do you see? Do you see curls and twists? Maybe some interesting shapes? This part up here kind of reminds me of a snake. Yeah. And this piece over here might be part of a flower or maybe a bird. The sculpture is made of glass, and as you can see, it's all blue. Here in the center, it looks almost black, but here on the edges, you can really see the different shades of blue. So how do they make something like this out of glass? Well, Mr. Chihuly and his helpers take a ball of very hot glass, and they blow into it, and it makes these long, curly shapes. Then they make a whole bunch more, and they connect them all together. This type of sculpture is a chandelier, which means it hangs from the ceiling, so people can walk underneath it and look at it from many different angles. Also, it's huge. This is about 11 feet tall. That's like 2 grown-ups tall. And it's 7 feet across. That's about like if 2 kids lay down head to toe, that's how big that is. It's really huge. This sculpture is called Rio del Torricelle, which I probably didn't say very well because it's Italian. I don't speak Italian. But it means Canal of the Little Flowers. See, Dale Chihuly called it that because this and some other sculptures like it were made about 25 years ago for a display in Italy at a place called the Canal of the Little Flowers. But this sculpture didn't stay in Italy. This actually now permanently lives at the Cincinnati Art Museum, so you and your family can visit it there. I've been there with my family. It is really neat looking. There's also an even bigger Chihuly sculpture at the Indianapolis Children's Museum. That one is over 40 feet tall, and it has many different colors. So today, we're going to make our own Dale Chihuly style sculptures. But don't worry, we won't be melting any glass. We're not going to make anything that's taller than you are, I promise. And instead of hanging from the ceiling, today's sculptures will sit on the table or on a shelf. Here's an example of one that I made last week. Okay, so for this project, you're going to need a bit of Play-Doh or some similar kind of air-dry clay, and some colorful crazy straws. I got a pack of 10 at the dollar store. Some scissors, that's for the grown-up part. And you know how usually I say you need to protect your table? We don't actually have to worry about that with this one because it's not very messy. Okay, so first, your grown-up will need to cut the straws into pieces. This is definitely a grown-up job. All right, and I am going to carefully cut mine. Carefully. It's not easy. That's why you need a grown-up to do it. Okay, and there we go. Oops, and hey, if you're lucky, it might go shooting across the floor. Ha ha. Okay. Now the edges aren't really sharp, but if you have concerns about your young person handling these sharp these plastic straws with a potentially sharp edge. You could try sanding it down maybe with some sandpaper or, something like that. So we want some straight pieces and some curvy pieces. Most of Dale Chihuly's sculptures have a lot of curves, but there are also some straight bits as well. I'm not demonstrating good scissor safety here, am I? There we go. Whoo! Boy, they really like to zoom around. Now for the Play-Doh, you'll want a piece that's maybe about the size of a golf ball. So while the grown-up is cutting the straws down to shape, that's when the child can take the Play-Doh and roll it into a ball, roll it this way, roll it that way. I've seen a couple of Dale Chihuly sculptures, and I think that probably my favorite one is that beautiful blue one that we looked at earlier that's at the Cincinnati Art Museum. And frankly, I think it's my favorite because I can go and visit it a lot. One of the things that's really neat about that is that the part of the building where it's hanging has 2 floors, so 2 levels, so you can go upstairs and look down on it, which is pretty neat. And if you make it to the Indianapolis Children's Museum, where there's, like I said, that giant one that's 40 feet tall, what's really neat is it was made specifically for that building. And if you've been there, well, if you haven't been there, let me tell you about it. The Children's Museum there is 4 stories, actually 5 stories, because there's a basement and then 4 floors above it. And what's really neat is that the middle part of the building is all open, and that's where the sculpture hangs. And on the bottom floor, which is underneath where the sculpture is, you can, there's a glass floor underneath the sculpture, so you can be down on the bottom floor and look up at it from underneath. Oh, it's really cool. All right, so we've cut up some straws, some straight pieces, some curly pieces. Got our Play-Doh. Okay, it's not actual Play-Doh brand, it's a different kind. I got a pack of 8 colors at the dollar store for, $1, and a pack of crazy straws for another $1. So for $2, you can make a bunch of sculptures. So that's kind of a fun thing. Maybe you can spend some of your school break making these, or if you've got maybe a grandparent's birthday or something like that. Maybe you could make a couple for a gift because you've got enough materials to make a couple. All right, so I've got my Play-Doh ball. I made it a little bit flat on one side, and I'm gonna, ready? Thump. Stick it on the table, give it a little bit of shaping. Now you don't have to use Play-Doh. Any kind of air dry clay will work. All right, there you go. And now stick the straws in. And you can stick them in up, going up. You probably want to put some out to the side. Parents, if you do have some sharper edges that you're concerned about, little ones, well, that's the end you stick inside, right? I'm going to put this one over here. Let's see, I need a little bit more straight on this side. Now, with the camera up above the table, I don't know how well you can see this. I'll bet it's a pretty cool angle from there. I'm looking at it from the side, from here. I kind of like that, too. Let's go with that. Now, Mr. Chihuly named his sculptures, well, the blue one that we looked at, named it after where he showed it. A lot of artists do things like that. Made it after where he showed it or where he made it. So I wonder what I should name this sculpture. I guess I could name it after where I made it. I guess I could call it MidPointe Mystique. What do you think of that? Mystique is a word that means mystery or unknown. What do you think? And there you go. Is it the fanciest thing we've ever made? No. But oh my gosh, it sure is fun. It's pretty easy. Now after you stick your straws in, you might find that some of the holes kind of grew a little bit big. So I'm going to pinch it together a bit and try to get those to stand up a little better. And there we go. And now I'm going to let it sit and dry, depending on what kind of clay you use. Oh, for Pete's sake. There we go. Depending on what kind of clay you use, it might dry really quickly in a couple of hours, or it might take a day or two. But there we go. Ta-da! We have made art in the style of Dale Chihuly. Now, one of the really cool things, I told you that he made that big one 25 years ago, give or take. He's still alive and he's still making art, which is pretty neat. You can find some of his things. One of the books that we have here at MidPointe about Dale Chihuly is this really great one. It's called World of Glass, The Art of Dale Chihuly. I hope it's not making a big glare on that. But it's pretty cool because it has pictures of the work that he's done, and it shows how he makes it. Look at them blowing that glass. Isn't that neat? And it's just all kinds of really wonderful stuff. Let me find this big page. Here we go. Look at that whole process. That's hot glass. Now, like I say, we don't have to do that part. Thank goodness, I'd burn myself for sure. But this has beautiful pictures of many of his sculptures. World of Glass, The Art of Dale Chihuly. Well, thank you so much for joining me again today for another MidPointe Maker. I think this was pretty fun. And, oops, there we go. Stick that guy back in there. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us, and go make something and show us what you've made. I love seeing the artwork that you do. All right, thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.